this year, January this year, started my 41st year in the life insurance business. 41st year. I know I don't look that old, but it is. It's 41st. I start every morning off the same prayer. I'm going down in the car and I'm saying, Lord, bless me today, give me wisdom, protect me from the enemy, and enlarge my territory. Then I say, Lord, send your angels out to gather those people together by life insurance for me today. I do this. This is every day, the daily prayer. And I tithe. So people say, how come you're successful? I say, because I pray and I tithe. If you go to Luke 6:38, it says, give and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, overflowing, shall men give unto your bosom. It's kind of like a popcorn popper. Think about that. Pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. Shall men, doesn't say God's going to give it to you, it says, so men give into your bosom. Well, I've got an old King James. I went and looked up bosom. Bosom is a fold in the garment where they kept money, which we would call today a billfold. And it's interesting, it says, shall men give unto you. By me going out and getting all these prospects and selling insurance, men are giving to me. They're buying life insurance from me, which is generating income for me. So God's not giving it to me. He's using other people to do it for me. So that's where my success is. So first thing is prayer and tithing. Second thing is health. My health is real important to me. I listened to a show a couple years ago. They were talking about how much you ought to work out, what should you eat, things like that to be healthy. And I remember a cardiologist came on and said, let me make this real easy for you people. If you will walk 15 minutes a day and eat oatmeal, those two things, walk 15 minutes a day and eat oatmeal, you'll be healthier than 90% of the people in this country. One of my friends is a group health insurance person. I heard him do a presentation earlier this year. He said 90% of the obese people in the world live in the United States. 90%, and 75% of that 90% lives in the South. So you just think about Mexican food, chicken fried steak. I mean, what do we all eat down here and stuff? So that's reality. So over 2 years ago, I started walking 25 minutes a day. And I've gone now 2 years and 3 months and have kept that up. I'm averaging 25 minutes a day walking, and when I get a chance, I'll eat oatmeal and stuff, but I put all the brown sugar in it and all that other kind of stuff, so I'm probably not doing it right, but it's working for me. I am on one prescription medication, and my reports this year on my annual physical said, whatever you're doing, all your readings are perfect, so keep doing it. So I'm 65 years old now. For the second time in my life, I'm glad I'm 1 year older. When I was 15, I wanted to be 16 and drive. Health insurance at age 64 for me was $900 a month. At age 65 on a Medicare supplement, it's about $250. So this is great being 65, so I'm enjoying it. My theme song, I have a theme song. I've had theme songs over the year. It used to be Comfortably Numb was one of them at one time. Then they're Dazed and Confused. I mean, I've had some good ones and stuff, but I finally found the one that's perfect for me. It's called Simple Man by Leonard Skinner. The lines are, be a simple kind of man, be something you love and understand. I've done life insurance now. This is my 41st year. I understand it. I don't do anything else. I don't sell Aflac. I don't do cancer insurance. I don't do disability. I do life insurance because I understand it and it's simple. I do not own a computer. I don't have a laptop. I don't have any of that stuff. I still go out and I still hand do rates. I've got a little rate card and I've got an old Texas Instrument calculator. Still works for me because it's got big numbers on it and I can see the big numbers. And that's what I sell insurance on. I still fill out the apps. They've tried to give me laptops several times. They've talked about maybe electronic apps. Remember Donnie Prater and I years ago, we were able to do a handwritten app quicker than somebody could do an electronic app. So we said so much for that, so we don't need these. So I'm very simple with what I do, very simple. And then the other parts of the song say, find a woman and you'll find love, and remember, son, there's someone up above. And that's my life. The reason I live here now is because I reconnected with my college girlfriend after 35 years and moved to McKinney to be with her. And so I found a woman, I found love, I've done that, and then I remember there's someone up above that's watching over me. Did you mention the 3 types of?
No, I didn't mention that part of the board meeting.
He mentioned the other day there are the three main causes of death in this country. Number 1 is heart disease. Number 2 is cancer. Who would take a guess at what you think number 3 is?
Pneumonia.
You don't get to guess. Number 3, what do you think number 3 is?
Pneumonia.
Nope, not pneumonia. You got heart, and you got heart disease, and then cancers 1 and 2. What do you think number 3 is? I was amazed, but it's medical malpractice. Doctors and medicines are killing more people than any other thing besides heart and cancer disease. I mean, if you think about it, if you go to the hospital, you know, the times that they mess up and stuff, that's the 3rd leading cause of disease right now. All right, he mentioned last year. Last year, my goal was 200,000 issued premium. I ended up with about 185,000, which was the worst year I've had in the last 6 or 7 years. That's the worst I had. Van Miller is one of my friends, and Van Miller, I've known him for a long time. Van Miller writes 1,000 policies a year. Van Miller makes MDRT in January of every year. So my goal is to try to be like Van. At 59 years old, I wrote my first 1,000 apps. At 59, did it again at 60, 61, and 62. At 63, I slacked off a little bit and only wrote 900. And last year at 64, I did 700. Now, I've slowed down a little bit because I got a son in the business, I got a son-in-law in the business, so I start to split a lot of stuff. I'm starting to give them more groups to do. But in the month of January, even though I had my worst year in the last 6 or 7 years last year, in January, God came through. I wrote 105,000 of premium in the month of January. The commission on that is going to be enough to qualify for MDRT. So like Van Miller, I qualified for MDRT this year in 1 month. So that was incredible how that happened. LIMRA tells us, which is the Life Insurance Marketing Research Association, or what's it called? Is that it?
Yeah,
Association?
that's it.
1/3 of the people in this country, 1/3 now have no life insurance. So you just think about that. If you live in a town of 60,000 people, you got 20,000 prospects because none of them have life insurance. 1/3. 68% of the people that have life insurance, though, have no agent. They're orphan policy holders, 68%. And out of the people that own life insurance, 2/3 of them do not know what they have. And this became a reality to me about back in January. We had become, my wife and I become real close to a couple, younger couple. They're 49 and 41 years old. We've met them through our pastor at church. We've gone to eat with them. We've been on vacations with them. And they treat us like their parents. They actually like us more than they like their parents because we go do stuff with them. I mean, so it's become a great relationship. We got to go out their house. They lived in a six bedroom mansion and stuff. So after a while, after knowing about 6 months, I actually asked the question, do you have any objection to me reviewing your life insurance program? And they said no, because I'd given my card, and at one time in 09, 010, I was the state president for NAFA, Texas. So I've still got President Randy on my card. And the lady of the couple, she is a national recording artist. She had just recorded her 2nd album, and it was about a month ago in Nashville. It won Inspirational Album of the Year. They do so well in his business that they don't need the money, and she donated all the profits to the hurricane relief in Houston for this. But we watched her on TV get this award as Inspirational Album of the Year. She has toured with Carmen, and there's possibilities looming of her touring with Mercy Me and some groups like that, so that's a pretty good deal. Her manager is also the manager of Billy Joel. So I'm waiting for the time we all get invited to go and see, and she opens for Billy Joel, and we get to go up and see Billy Joel and stuff. So, but you talk about not knowing what they had. These are people that are pretty well off, and I asked them. She said, yeah, we'll even give you our policies. We'll let you look at them. I said, before I looked at them, I said, what do y'all have? She told me we each have $500,000 of permanent life insurance that's guaranteed, and we each have $5 million of term insurance that's locked in for 30 years. So I opened the policies and started looking at them, and they have $500,000 each of an index universal life that has no guarantees. In fact, the word guarantee does not appear one place in the pages of the policy. It talks about premiums are flexible, this could happen, whatever. There's no guarantees. They also had $2.5 million of 20-year term. They thought they had $5 million of 30-year term each. So they're not happy. So they gave me the policies. They said, here, this is what we want you to go do this stuff. So I wrote $4 million of 30-year term on both of them, and $1 million of PWL on both of them. premiums on all those together are gonna be over $50,000. She's already been approved, she's already paid an annual premium on both of hers. He had one more doctor to check out than she did, and so we're waiting for him to get out of underwriting stuff. So that's a pretty good start for the year. When you don't hit your goal the year before, I guess it's good to have a great January, have a big January stuff, and kind of make up for it, so I made up for it. Life insurance still has to be sold. There is nobody out there standing in line waiting to buy life insurance. I remember at MDRT meeting years ago, there was a guy that had a video called My Dream of the Insurance Industry. And he pulls up to a big building in downtown, and on the top of the building it said his name, life insurance company. Pulls up in a limousine and he gets out, and there's people all the way around the block yelling, please sell me life insurance, please sell me some life insurance. And he goes up the top of the building, and there's 3 tables up there. The first table is where they do the app. The second table, there's a guy with a stamp going, approved non-tobacco, approved non-tobacco. And the third table is they're giving you your policy. That is my ideal of the insurance business. I would love for National Farm Life one day to let me be the underwriter. I could get everything out of underwriting really fast and stuff that's in there right now. So no one is standing in line though to buy life insurance. You still have to see people, it still has to be sold. You can only buy it if it's not needed. Now you think about that, if it's not needed. If it's needed, that means you're probably unhealthy and you may not qualify for it. And then this guy said there's only one day to buy life insurance. What day would that be? Today. You never know what's going to happen to you tomorrow. I have people that, I had one guy sold earlier this year that 2 days after I sold him a policy, he had to go to the emergency room. I mean, he survived it okay, but if I would have waited and did it the day before, the day after that stuff, he may have become an uninsurable person. So you got to buy it today. You got to buy it when you're healthy and stuff. It's not, you can't get it when you become unhealthy. You need to own a lot of insurance if you're going to be able to sell a lot of insurance. I have no problem selling $5 million to people because I own $3 million. So I can talk to people about $5 million because I own 3 myself. Then one person told me you got to know your stuff so you can stuff your prospects with stuffing. So there we go. I thought that was pretty good. I got to hear Chad Hennings speak. Chad Hennings was in the Air Force and drafted by the Cowboys back in the early 90s, and he had to go 4 years though and serve in Afghanistan as a pilot. And he came back, and he was on Super Bowl teams with Aikman, Emmett, and Irvin that won 3 Super Bowls. So we got to hear him speak, and he said, about as far as the insurance business is concerned, he said you need to find 1 new prospect a day. That's it. You don't need 20 or 31. He said get you 1 prospect a day. He said there's no magic in selling insurance, it's just effort. You've got to have effort. Then he said your legacy is going to be defined by people you impact. A few years ago, National Farm Life gave me a trophy that said at one time I had $100 million of life insurance in force. What that means, that is my legacy. What that means is, if every one of my clients were to die, there would be $100 million that would flow into the economy in the state of Texas. There's going to be a lot of people impacted by that money and stuff. So that's the legacy that I have left. I've got all of these people out there that own insurance policies. Then he says you must have something to live for. You got to get up every morning, you got to have something to go do. You got to have something to live for. 5 things of his Living Excellent program are, number 1 is set goals. Now here, this is a fighter pilot and an ex-Dallas Cowboy, and his number 1 thing is you've got to set a goal. You've got to have a vision and set goals. The second thing he says is you've got to know yourself and you've got to evaluate yourself. You've got to know what your strengths and your weaknesses are. My weakness is the telephone. I am not good on the phone unless I know you. In fact, on my phone right now, if you call me and you don't leave a message and I don't recognize the number, I don't call you back. I get solicitations all over the place right now. So I don't do that. If you'll leave me your name, then I'll put it in there and I'll know next time you call. But I had a chance to open up a group in a town that's about 2.5 hours east of here called Wascom, Texas, right on the border of Louisiana. And I didn't know the people that well, so I drove 2.5 hours to meet the HR at this business. She asked me, she said, did you come all this way just to see me? I said, yes, ma'am. I said, I wanted to just come meet you and stuff. And she was impressed with that, and I opened up a group there. If I would have called her on the phone, she didn't know me, she could have dismissed me real easily and stuff, but I drove. So I have found I am better in person than I am on the telephone. So that's what my evaluate is. I know that's my strength. Chad said you've got to train, you got to exercise, you've got to take care of yourself. And he also said you need to be aware of who you hang out with. Don't hang out with the wrong people and stuff. There was a book years ago that said, you know, if you need to change, if you can't change the people, change the people. Which I thought that was great. Then he said you got to have a plan. You got to do your best every day. You got to make wise decisions. He said you need to list all the things that you need to do that day, and then prioritize them and do the most important things first. He said most people do the least important things first because they're the easiest, and by the end of the day, they're so tired they don't even get the important things to do, and they carry them over to the next day, and they have a longer list of things to do. So do that. Then the last thing he said, you got to get off the bench, and you got to get in the game. You got to execute. Doesn't do any good to come to meetings like this, take notes and learn all this stuff, and then go home and do nothing. So you've got to execute. The secret of success is in your daily routine. You've got to have a routine. You've got to have stuff to do. I'm 65 now, and it's amazing how many times I go to bed at 8 or 8:30 and I get up at 4 or 4:30 in the morning. If I have paperwork to do, I get it knocked out early in the morning because I'm rested and it's quiet in the house and I can get it all done and stuff. So you got to prioritize your day. You got to work smarter. The greatest threat, he said, to your success is your current success. If you're happy with where you are, you're never going to get any better and stuff. You're going to stay where you are. Then I went and saw another lady, and her saying was, no excuses, only execution. Let's talk about Dave Ramsey. Clark mentioned Dave Ramsey this week. This is coming up, we're coming up on Passover. The Pharaoh that killed all the firstborn, and his name was Ramsey also. So it was Pharaoh Ramsey stuff, and so, you know, that's not a good name to have. Dave Ramsey is doing a disservice in this country to 98% of the people. The reason why is Limmer will tell you that only 2% of all the death claims in this country are with term insurance. 2%. He's having everybody drop up, don't buy a whole lot, buy term insurance. 98% of the death claims in this country are people with a permanent life insurance policy, because most of the people die when they get older. And when they get older, their term insurance is going to eventually get so expensive they're going to have to drop it or it's going to expire. I've had that happen to 2 clients that I never could get to convert. They got to a certain point on a fixed income, and their term insurance just kept getting bigger and bigger and higher, and they eventually had to drop, and they died without any insurance. So you remember that. 2% of all the death claims in this country are term insurance. The rest of them are permanent insurance. This is my handout. I do a lot of worksite marketing. I started doing worksite marketing and really picked up about, 2010, 2011? This is the handout I use when I'm doing a presentation, and I have done companies that have had 1,000 employees. I've been to some trucking yards at 5:30 in the morning where there's been 50 guys there. This is my presentation where there's 50 employees or 2 or 3. The first thing I tell people if I get a group like this, the first thing I say is, you know, there's a 100% chance that everybody in this room is going to die. And they just look at you like, what? You're going to die. I say, yes, you're going to die. And I love following the Aflac person, because I say, you know, all that Aflac y'all just bought, you may never use any of that. You could be the healthiest person in the world and get out here on the highway and get hit by a Mack truck and you're dead. You don't use your hospitalization, you don't use your disability, you're dead. You need life insurance. I tell them it is a voluntary program. You don't have to take anything, but your company has given you the chance to pick up life insurance, and you're going to have to pay for it. And so when you're going to companies to get them to get this set up, tell them you got a great product we want you to be able to offer your employees. It doesn't cost anything to you. And most people that I've talked to, most people I've done this with, have no life insurance. So when it talks about 2/3 of the people have, or 1/3 of the people have no life insurance in this country, I see them all the time. And if they do have it, they've got a $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 group term policy that comes with their hospitalization. That's all they have. That's barely enough to bury people today. Funerals in Lubbock, Texas right now are about 15,000. If you go down to Midland, Odessa, they're about 20,000. So most people don't even have enough to bury them. And then I used to put on here, because I do a lot of oil field workers and truck drivers, I used to put on here, it was portable, but they didn't know what that meant, so I said, all right, you can keep it if you leave here. So I tell them, take it with you. Then I tell them there's no medical exam, there's no blood test. By going through the group, you don't have to do that. Now I have contracts with Prudential, Mass Mutual, American General, Lincoln National. If I was to write you $250,000 with any of those companies, you're going to have a physical and a blood test. You don't have to do that with National Farm Life. You don't have to do anything. You can get up to $250,000 on yourself and your spouse. We don't have to see your spouse, but I need some information on her, and if you'll give me her cell number, I'll call her and get it, because I have found one guy out of 1,000 that knew his wife's driver's license and social security number. And because she had given it to him on a piece of paper, he had it in his billfold, and he pulled it out and he said, "This, my wife told me I might need this someday." Now, most of the women know your driver's license and your social security number because they're gonna get benefits someday, but I don't even know my wife's cell number. It's just in my phone, I just get her name and it goes to her. So then you can get $50,000 on kids, grandkids, and now you can get it on your parents. You can write the Premier Choice through the work site and cover parents, but you have to go see the parent. On the spouse, I don't have to see the spouses, but they've got to sign the HIPAA form. So I will tear it out and I'll X where she needs to sign. I'll give it to the guy and I say, "Take this home," and I give him an envelope, have your wife sign it and mail it in to me. I may get 1 or 2 out of 10 that way. So I end up eventually having to go see the wife and get her to sign it because the guys aren't really good about that. I had a guy today, his wife signed it 2 weeks ago, and he just now remembered it was in his pickup and he gave it to me today. And I'm just thinking, oh, whatever. Then I tell him about the advanced premium deposit. I said, "This is a great deal." I said, "And I don't care if you get it or not because I don't make a penny on it. But we're going to guarantee you 1%, which is more than you can make at a bank. You can put up to 2 times what your insurance costs in this account, twice a year, take it out with no penalty." I was at one of my trucking yards back in January, and National Farm Life does these things. I call them, whether cash value summaries pages. I just call them one-pagers. So one page, it tells you everything about the policy. It'll tell you how much cash value is in there, it'll tell you how much is in the advanced premium deposit. And 2 guys at a trucking yard in Odessa. One of them had $8,000 in his advanced premium account, the other one had $7,000. I looked at him, I said, "Oh, you got a lot of money here." And they go, "What are you talking about?" They had totally forgot about it. Because on their deduction on their check, it says life insurance. It doesn't say savings account like it says life insurance because it's attached to the life insurance policy. So here's 2 guys that have saved $8,000 and $7,000 and have totally forgotten about this. Now, I tell all the employees, I said, if I was to hand you $15, $20 every pay period, tell you go put this in the bank, I will bet you none of you will ever make it to the bank. And I've never had anybody say, "Oh, no, I know you wouldn't. You wouldn't go to the bank. Don't give me that." And then the other thing they tell me, I said, "Well, I need to go home and talk to my wife about it." I said, "No, you don't. No, you don't. I have never talked to a wife yet that said, I do not want my husband to carry life insurance, especially if he's working on a drilling rig or if he's driving a truck all the time." I said, no. I don't even sell insurance anymore. I just tell them now. I got a new saying that says, "I don't sell, I tell." I said, "This is what you need. You need to do this, this, and this," because they don't know anyway. They do not really know. Nobody's ever talked to them about life insurance because I know, because none of them have it. They were given stuff at work. They don't have life insurance. So I tell them, this is what you need to do. Now, when I get into this, when I get into these things, I'll have people ask me about life insurance and stuff, and I don't even really talk to them much about permanent insurance. I'm selling them term. If they have no life insurance at all, I'm not going to take them from nothing to an expensive product. I'm going to take them into a term policy, and next year I can go talk about converting and stuff. But what I do is, being a simple man, I tell them term insurance is renting an apartment, permanent insurance is buying a house. If we're going to talk about cars, term insurance is a Geo, permanent is a Jaguar. They both get you to work. One's just worth a whole lot more money than the other one. If you have a term policy or a permanent policy, if you rent the apartment or live in the house, you got someplace to live. Because at death, they're both going to pay a tax-free death benefit to your beneficiary. So that's all I tell them. They don't know what term insurance is. They don't know what whole life is. They don't. And the reason I know this, I'm sitting in a table in a break room, and 2 girls that I talked to came walking down the hall, and I could hear them out there. And one of them said to the other one, she said, "Did you get the Jaguar or did you get the Geo?" They understood that. They did not understand term or permanent insurance, but they understood the differences though. So I tell them, I represent a whole bunch of companies. There's only 2 types of products. You're either going to get a term one or you're going to get a permanent one. I don't care what the name of the company is or what they call it. It's one of those 2. So you pick one. But if I've got a guy that has a wife and 2 or 3 kids and has no insurance at all, I'm not even going to mention what permanent insurance costs, because it's going to usually cost 4 to 5 times what term costs. I'm going to sell him a term policy, and if he doesn't know how much, the first thing I'm going to ask him is, what would it take to pay your house off? If they pay the house off for $100,000, I'm going to sell him $100,000. I want him to get something. My goal, if I'm going to spend the time to go see people, is to come out of there with an app. I mean, at 6:50 this morning, I was at one of my businesses in Odessa, Texas. I had to get up at 4 in Lubbock and leave at 4:45 to get down to see these guys. I'm just asking the same thing. I'm wanting to buy a policy because they don't have anything. I made 8 sales this morning before 8 o'clock. And probably there was one guy that he said, I want the 250,000. The rest, a couple 100,000, I sold all the kids. I really push kid insurance right now. In the last 2 years, I've had 6 kids that I have worksite whole life on that have died. 6 of them. I had 2 overdoses on hydrocodone. One kid was in a car wreck, the other one had some surgery, and they took symptoms. So much of the pain medicine, the hydrocodone, they both had heart attacks and died in their sleep. Their parents found them in their beds. They were both 20 years old. One lived this side of the state, the other one lived that side of the state. I had an 18-year-old girl overdose on albuterol in an asthma inhaler. I had never heard you could do that before, but she had so much of that in her system it killed her. I had a 14-year-old killed in a car wreck. I have had a crib death, or SIDS now. I had a 4-month-old die. I wrote a policy on her. She got age 0 to race when she was 3 months old. 3 weeks later, she died in her sleep. I have now experienced that. The toughest one, though, happened in the fall. A 4-year-old found the family gun and accidentally shot and killed his 2-year-old brother. And my first thought is, where is the gun that the 4-year-old has access to? And so stuff happens, when kids die. You don't need much insurance on them, but you need a funeral expenses, because some of these people that don't have insurance, I'm sure they don't have $10,000, $15,000 sitting around that they can use for funerals. So I said, please get some insurance on your kids. And when they turn 16 and start driving, that opens up all new possibilities. In Muleshoe, Texas, I've got a hospital out there that I do insurance on, and I've got a nursing home. About 2 or 3 years ago, there were 9 teenagers killed in that part of Texas, all going to and from football games, 9 of them. So when they start driving, that opens up other possibilities. So I said, get some insurance on your kids. I tell them about the miracle of life insurance. I had a guy named Dustin that I do a drilling company, and twice a year I go out to drilling rigs. I'd only seen this guy 3 times my entire life. One time he bought a $250,000 term policy from me. He's coming home from work. You would think the drilling rig is the hard place to work. No, he's coming home from work, gets T-boned by a pickup, and is killed instantly. He had paid into that policy maybe $1,000. I brought his wife a check for $250,000 with interest and stuff. It's a little bit over that. And I still keep a copy of the check with me if people want to know about how it works. I said, it's a very emotional event. Still, in the 41st year of my business, to have to do that. She had 2 kids. She took that $250,000, she bought a house, she paid off her car, and she set up college education accounts for both kids. And then she has to go get a job. $250,000 isn't going to make anybody rich, but it kept her from being poor. And that's what I tell these guys. If you get enough to at least pay your house off, mom and the kids are at least okay. They're at least okay. But it's not going to make anybody rich, but it's going to keep them from being poor. So that's a pretty neat deal that, we're able to do that. Because where else is she going to, she may never have another $250,000 at one time the rest of her life. But she had it when she needed it, because she's lost her husband and she's lost his income. So that was pretty neat. I thought that was just a neat experience. Another thing that National Farm Life's got that's pretty unique is tobacco. If I write you Mass Mutual, American General, some of those other companies, it's either tobacco or non-tobacco. And sometimes tobacco rates twice as much as non-tobacco. National Farm Life, you can dip, chew, cigars, electronic or vapor cigarette, and you get a non-smoking rate. And every one of my oil field workers, most of my truck drivers, all have a can in their back pocket and stuff, so they're getting a good deal. So it's a good deal for them. So I get them to put their name over here. I want their phone number. I want their date of birth, and all I want to know is if you smoke a cigarette or not. That's all I want to know. Because sometimes after I've done a safety meeting like this, by 7 o'clock, these guys are gone. And the safety meetings takes up most of the time. I only get to see a few of them, but if they turn this back into me, and then I want them to check down here at the bottom, yes, thank you for making me aware I need life insurance. If you check that, then I'll come back and see you. If you check no, don't even think about seeing me, I hate life insurance agents, then I'm not even going to talk to you, I'll throw yours away. And no one has ever checked, no, don't see me because I don't love my family and I don't care if my death hurts them financially. No one's ever checked that. I'm waiting for the first person to check that one. But I've had them check no before, but in parentheses they put, but we like you. So I will take these, and sometimes I may have 20 or 30 of them from a meeting, because by the time the meeting's over with, these guys have got to go to work, and then I'll come back another morning at 5:30, and I only need 5 minutes to do an app. I have learned to move quick. So when you see that worksite app, I can do an employee, a spouse, and 4 kids in about 5 minutes. I've learned to move quick because I know I know I gotta get the first page, I gotta get all the employees' information. I gotta know what they're how much they're taking out, and I've gotta ask all the questions. Then I've gotta get all the signatures. Then I've gotta go to the spouse page and get as much as I can, but if it's a guy employee and I'm dealing with a female spouse, he doesn't know anything about his wife. He knows very little. You know, you try to say, well, how much your wife weighs? You kidding me? They're afraid. They're not gonna tell you that. You have to call. I say, give me your wife's cell number and I'll call her. And in 6-7 years of doing this, I have never had a wife not give me information over the phone. Never. Because she wants insurance, and she wants insurance on him. And so I have learned just to get the basic as much as I can on the wife. Same thing on the kids. I had a guy in Levelland, Texas, and you can't make this stuff up. I'm sitting there, he's got 6 kids. He gives me 3 names and just blanks out. And he goes, and he actually said this, he goes, I know I've got more kids because I see them around the house and just can't remember their names. And I said, well, give me your wife's cell number, and I called her, and in about 1 minute, she gives me all 6 kids' names, their height and weight, and their birthdays. So I have learned moms know everything, get the mom's phone number and stuff. And so that's how I can move quick, because I don't need to sign them, I don't need anything, I'll date one of them. I only need to date one of them and where it was, and I can go in and fill out the rest of it. There are times, though, that if I write a whole bunch of apps, I literally have to shut down for a day. It may take me a day just to finish them all because I've written so many. But that's not a bad problem to have, I guess, is to have a whole bunch of apps, you gotta go fill them out. So I have had days before, there was one day I was at the drilling rig for 24 hours and sold 50 apps in 24 hours. So, I mean, it's incredible. The people I'm seeing, nobody's calling on them. Most of the insurance agents in our profession are calling on the owners of the company, and they're not talking to the employees. I'm making a living talking on the employees. Where my average premium last year was $369, I think. If I lose one of those, that's not that big a deal. Now, I've got one already issued this year that was $16,000 a premium, another one underwrites $26,000 premium. You lose one of those, it's a big deal. But if I lose one of my other ones, it's okay. I can do that. So, but if you accumulate a whole bunch of them, I'll tell you what, it looks pretty good. I mean, you make it 300 here, 300 there, and you get 1,000 of that. That had a pretty good year and stuff. So that's what I do. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, on the back of one of me, this is the one that I read from when I'm reading the form, but I also put rates on the back because I'll always have somebody, how much this costs. I just give them 100,000. I tell them what 100,000 is going to be. I've got ages 20, 25, 30, 35, all the way to 55, non-smoker, and for male and female, and I just give them the rates. And that's as hard. No one's ever asked for an illustration. I don't do illustrations. Nobody's ever asked.
So put premium waiver on them?
I do if they're probably 30 and under and got kids at home. I probably will do that just for them if they're 30 and under. I mean, I'm trying to keep the rate down. I don't want to scare them off because I wrote a guy today, a wife and 3 or 4 kids, and I covered all of them for it's going to cost about $30 a week. But they can handle that. You know, it's a whole lot easier to tell them it's going to be 30 a week than it's going to be telling them 120 a month or 130 a month. 130 a month is too much, but 30 a week is like, yeah, I can do that. And so I get them down to how that, most of my guys are either paid every 2 weeks or weekly. And then I quote them a rate there, but I'm going to get them something. I don't want to scare them. I want them to walk out of there with apps. I want them to buy some insurance and stuff because I have had plenty of death claims, and I know that this may be this may be the first time this guy's ever had a chance to buy life insurance. So, because most of the time they have nothing. And I even came across a 55-year-old lady the other day that was the manager of a glass company I went to in Midland. She had no life insurance. 55, you would think you'd have something. She didn't have anything because the company didn't offer it to them, so she didn't have anything. So.
How do you choose which companies to go into?
I started out, I was the life guy for a big PNC agency in West Texas for nearly 20 years. There would be years that I would do $200,000 of first year commission, and the sales manager would just always tell me, he said, you know, that's insignificant for us because the PNC agency had been in business 70 years and they would bring in $6-7 million a year in PNC commissions. So I was the insignificant agent at $200,000. So, but I thought, hey, that was pretty good for me. You know, I'll take that stuff. I had a girl named Rhonda that did group health insurance, and Rhonda would take me when she would do her renewal on group health insurance, and we would always have probably an Aflac or a Colonial person would go and offer their products, and then I would do the life insurance. And so I picked up a lot of clients, a lot of groups by doing that. And then I had people that would leave groups and go to work for other companies and would call me and they wanted to keep their insurance. And so I'd find out who the HR person was and I would go and talk to them. So I've set up a whole bunch of groups just by people that kept the insurance with me and wanted to keep it going. I had one the other day, had a guy left one of my trucking companies and he calls me. He said, I've just formed another company. We do diesel, we're diesel mechanics, we do diesel engines. And he said, I want you to come talk to all my employees, because he kept what he had with me, plus he had the advanced premium deposit account, so he wanted to keep that. So I went over there and he got them all in the room and I did talk to him. I sold 28 apps in about an hour. And I didn't think diesel mechanics make that much. And I was back over there, saw them today. The 3 cars out front was a brand new red Chevy Corvette. There was a brand new Mustang and a brand new Dodge Charger. And I go, I didn't realize diesel mechanics make that much. I guess working on all the trucks in the in the middle of Odessa in the oil field, they do really well. And I said, I'm gonna start talking to you guys about permanent insurance. I didn't realize y'all did this well and stuff. So I wrote 28 in about an hour. And then, I've had days like that before. Today I wrote probably 30 minutes, I wrote 8. So, I just have them, I sit in there, make a little presentation, they come into me one at a time, and they sit down, and I just start talking to them about stuff, and then I just tell them that, well, you need to do this, this, and this, and this, and they do. They said, okay, let's do it. And I'll just start asking questions, fill out that, get all the signatures, and get mom's phone number and stuff, and call her the next day, and get everything completed, and turn them in.
Have you done much with white collar businesses?
With who?
White collar businesses,
I've got some hospitals.
Yeah.
I've got nurses.
Yeah.
Nurses are very good prospects. Nurses, if you're an RN, you will always have a job. RNs are in demand.
Sure.
So I've got a couple of hospitals, medical clinics I've gone into, and I've done this there. I've got a carpet cleaning company that's all over the place. I've done them. I've just got a variety. It's just, I'm open to anybody. My little presentation here has worked for medical clinics, or it's worked for trucking companies. I've even got 2 drilling companies that I actually have a hard hat, steel-toed boots. I've taken the H2S class, and they allow me to go up into the dock, into the rig, and I've got a captive audience. I've got 4 to 5 guys on the rig, and they'll come to me one at a time. I've done this for nearly 30 years, and I take them Cokes and cookies, because the HR told me years ago, if you'll take them Cokes and cookies and stuff, they'll sit down and they'll listen to you. And I've had, in the last 2 years, I've had 4 guys killed from that company. 2 of them were killed on the rig. They had a rig accident, a freak accident, and 2 guys were killed coming home from work. And it's sad, but if somebody dies out there, everybody all of a sudden needs to buy what they want to buy insurance, because they thought that could have been me. So, and I go back every year and see them. I go back to all my clients, my groups every year. I've got some of them I can see twice a year. I go to the drilling range twice a year. I go once in the spring and once in the fall. Because the summer, there's too many bugs out there at midnight, because some of these guys work 11 at night to 7 in the morning, and there's too many bugs, and in the wintertime it's too cold. So I go in the spring and I go in the fall and see them, and go out and see them at the rigs. I've got other companies I can see whenever I want to. The HRs have given me free reign. They'll even call me sometimes and let me know they've got new employees I can go see. I've got others that they only want to do it once a year. There's a PNC guy, not a PNC, a group health guy in Lubbock, that started doing stuff with him because he didn't have time. He had so many groups because of all the regulations today on health insurance. They're bogged down. They don't have time to go sell anything else. So he got us in on some groups about 3 years ago, and he has qualified for the National Farm Life trip the last 2 years. He's never written an app. He's getting half the commission. We're going out and writing his groups and stuff, and we've done enough for him that he is qualified for the last 2 National Farm Life trips. In fact, the first Christmas party he went to, he picked up about $3,000 in cash, and he had his wife there, and he thought, wow. So we picked up other groups from him. I've got another friend that's just turned 65 that is selling his group health insurance business to his son and his son's partner, and he's just doing Medicare right now. Because he's 65, all his friends, he's got him 4 or 5 a day coming in, signing up for Medicare. He said, I want you to get me a contract, National Life. We're going to start selling life insurance to all my groups, because I don't have to do the health insurance anymore, so I'm going to go and do life insurance. So I pick up a lot of stuff. I'm out there so much that I pick up a lot, but we've got a group over in Kilgore. Some of the guys left my group in Wascom and came back and formed, and they've called me. 2 of the guys have got to keep their policies because they both experienced cancer. So they will never let that go. and they want me to go and see all his other ones. So I've got stuff going everywhere. So, but if you need me, I'm available. I will go make a presentation for you, and I'll just show you how to do it. But this is a 2-minute presentation. When I get a crowd like this at one of my groups, I could do this in about 2 minutes. That's just quick. So they usually put me at the end of their safety meeting or things like that. So that's what I do. Anything else?
Well, actually, Brandon, you kind of answered my question. You go back next year and
Yes.
you go to the actual company. You don't go to the employees, do you?
I will go back, and they will, one of them this year, most of them have open enrollment every year. Well, they'll let me come back and I can make my presentation. I make the same presentation in the same company every year because there's always new people, and employees have got a new spouse, or they got new kids, or there's a lot of things that can happen.
Didn't buy last year, maybe.
Did buy last year. There's some of them that,
Yeah.
you know, they really are thinking about it, and then they'll see all their friends buy stuff, and then tell you what really sells is the advanced premium deposit. When they hear stories that these guys have got thousands of dollars, they want to know, well, how'd you do that? They say, well, we bought this policy and we put all this extra money in, that's how we accumulated. That sells when the other employees tell the other employees how good this is. And so I go back every year and see all of my groups, and sometimes there's sometimes I don't get to all of them. And so I've got Matt and I've got David with me, and so they are both good. Matt can go in and do one of my groups. I sent him to one the other day, and he did the whole thing by himself. I wasn't even there. So that's really neat, you know, when you've got agents that can go do that. So I've got groups going on, and I'm always looking for more stuff. I mean, our prayer is God enlarge my territory. I've got stuff now in Oklahoma, New Mexico, and I've got stuff all parts of Texas. Tomorrow morning, I will get up and drive to Killeen, Texas. And from Killeen, I will have to go then to LaGrange, Smiley, Pleasanton, and end up in San Antonio. And then the next day, I've got some groups to see in San Antonio, and I'll speak at the luncheon there, and then I'll drive back here. So that's a typical day for me. I'm going to see as many as I can, and I'm going to sell as many policies as I can, and then I'll rest eventually. When I get to Cancun, I won't have my phone with me. I mean, when I work, I'm work. When I'm playing, my phone stays in the car at the console at the airport, and I'm not talking to anybody. Nobody call me and stuff. I'm going to be on the beach, and I'm going to have margaritas and stuff, and I'm going to be taking naps. So I'll catch up on all my rest when I get down there. So.
And all the employees that bought apartments from you, do you try to convince them to buy a house the next year?
Sometimes. It just depends. Sometimes. When the oil industry starts booming, their incomes will start going up. It's been kind of stable for a while, and so, but sometimes, or I'll get them to just convert some of it. I mean, you know, I have some that maybe bought a $250,000 term policy, and then next year they may convert 25,000 of it and keep the rest of it, because I tell them you're going to need some permanent insurance someday. And so I tell them, you know, the younger you get, the cheaper it is. So I make this easy for them. I tell them everything they need to know about insurance, and then I say, now you can be an insurance agent. You know everything there is to know about it. That's how easy this is. So that's what I do. Okay? All right, thanks.
Thank you, Randy.